technology on your boat, but especially when things are tough and you can see what's going on in the water around you, it helps a lot.
Perfect. Justin?
Yeah, I caught all of mine definitely on the live scope too, but mainly to Mickey rig, I was using the Freedom Tackle with a little 1/4 ounce swim bait head and having to go back and forth between a little small swim bait, just I don't know, about 10 different little shad profile things. I was targeting like 30 to actually 50 foot of water today. Had some rock piles down by the dam that was key from day 1 and 2. I could get one big bite a day. I mean, I caught a 5-pounder somehow every day. And but today my big fish, I thought they moved up shallow, and apparently they moved out deeper. So first 2 days was 30 to 35 foot of water, and then today I moved out to 40 to 50 foot and ended up catching all my fish late. That's how I ended up.
You're probably going to get sick of hearing this. I caught a lot of I'd say 90% of my fish on live scope, but I was doing a little different than these other guys. I was in practice, I found a lot of high percentage docks and spawning pockets that I figured had some bigger largemouth. But without the live scope, I probably wouldn't have caught half the fish, because I'd pull up to a dock and I'd scope it and make a cast. Sometimes you see one follow it down. You knew to let your bait soak, and like Stetson said, sometimes it'd be in there like a minute or two, where normally if I didn't know that fish was there, I would have pulled my bait out, or I'd have to reposition my boat to get a better cast so I could get at that fish that's under the dock, because they won't go far sometimes to chase it down. So I got all mine on light line, 8-pound test, Tatsu line, and just a Nico rig, light nail weight.
I strictly had a 1-2 approach for me. I started out the Scottsboro 3-inch swim bait, rainbow shad, early on a herring bite, throwing a 3/8 ounce head. My fish normally that would come in that 2 to 12 foot range, just depending on what ditch I was in. Then I would go back to the docks like the rest of us did. I would take a young day, ring pumpkin purple, skip it under docks. I'd use live scope, kind of like they did, scope under them. You'd see which docks even had fish, because there's so many docks out here to hit, and you can almost waste your time. So live scope really helped out with that. I just stuck with that throughout the entire tournament, because that's what I felt like was the best possibility to win. That's how it turned out.
All right, perfect. And we found Kyle. So congratulations, Kyle, on the second place finish. And as these other gentlemen have, you get to walk us through your key baits and techniques, and then I'll open up questions for the floor.
So for me this week, I was just trying to gear up for my entire tournament around trying to catch 1 or 2 pre-spawn females in a day. And then I know this lake has so many fish that, you know, at some point in time, you're going to catch 2 or 3 more good ones, and then you have a really good bag. So I set up the entire tournament trying to catch big fish, and I was using a ton of different baits. I was running brush piles, docks, all that type of stuff, and I was using shallow running jerk baits, deep diving jerk baits. I was using a shaky head. I used the wacky rig a good bit today. I was using 2.8-inch swim baits, 6-inch swim baits, and I mean, I was kind of just had a lot of stuff to cover every single part of the water column this week. It was more about staying around the threadfin shad, really close to spawning areas for me. So that's what I was trying to do, was stay close to threadfin shad, really close to where I feel like the fish are going to spawn in, because I felt like those fish were the most consistent. I was able to cycle through a lot of areas and, you know, generate a couple more big bites doing that. So just a ton of different baits.
Everything. Through one of everything. All right, so what we're going to do so that the folks watching on BassMaster.com understand what the questions they're answering. After you ask the question, I'm going to repeat it so that our viewers online understand what we're talking about. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor for questions. Yes, sir. We'll start right here.
Kyle, please expound a little bit on your decision to target fish that are feeding on threadfin versus herring.
Yeah, so why target fish that are focusing on threadfin versus the herring that are very popular here?
So just to be honest, in practice this week, I didn't see a ton of herring. I saw a little bit of it. I didn't see an overwhelming amount like some guys said they did. And what little bit that I did see, they were pretty much inconsistent day by day, and I felt like whenever I found, like I've got brush piles right now that the thread fin are absolutely glued to, and they have not left them, and I don't know when they're gonna leave them, but to me, it felt like those thread fin were staying put a whole lot better. They were not wandering near as far. Like those herring will get out in the timber, they'll get up shallow, they'll just move around a ton throughout the day. The thread fin seemed to stay put, and you can come back and cycle through those areas multiple times in a day. You don't have to hit like a magic window when you're fishing for fish that are on thread fin shad. You can really cycle those same areas and hit it at different times throughout the day, and they're still going to be there. At least that was my experience this week.
Next question. Yes, sir. Mr. Stout.
Kyle, you said on stage that you used a bait today that you hadn't used all week. What was that?
Yeah, a bait that you hadn't used all week that you used today. Please explain.
So it was actually, I know everybody else in the entire tournament caught a lot of fish on a wacky rig, but I haven't had a bite on it since I got here. I mean, literally in 4 days of practice and the other 2 days of the tournament, I had not caught a fish on a wacky rig. And I think I have thrown every single color that I had. And then last night I seen a pack of great 5-inch worms, and I was like, I'll just put that sucker on because I threw every other color. And today, it seemed like they was eating the gray one. I mean, I caught them on it today, but I never have the other 7 days we've been here.
Very good. And I did get a question from Jerry Bethany from Outdoor Life, who's covering it from his house in New York. He was curious about the color selection based on the water quality. If each of you could kind of comment on that, if it mattered, and if so, how much. And why don't we start down there with Luke and work your way back towards me.
I don't know if it really mattered for me or not. I stay with green pumpkin purple primarily. That's in a dinger. That's one thing that I have 2 colors. I have black and blue and green pumpkin purple. So I stay simple with it. I don't try to expand too much, and I just stay simple on it.
I only had 2 colors. One was a shad color. I used that a lot more in the morning, and especially when I was going through some ditches and I was Nico rigging it, trying to live scope in the ditches. I used a shad color, and I'd use that a bit on the docks. But then once the sun got up, I'd switch over to a green pumpkin.
All of mine was on like a pearl. I don't know why. I've tried every color, and for some reason that bright pearl in that clear water, these herring fish just eat it.
I don't really think that color mattered this week for me. I think it's just what I found confidence in, and to me, I try to keep it, like they said, extra simple. But I think I'm the most simplest, however you want to put that, of all these guys, and I stick with what works for me, and just carry it with me everywhere I go, and seems to work. So why change it?
I'm going to agree with what Stetson said as far as color not being a big factor for me. I felt like a lot of these fish were like very polarized. They were either going to bite or they were absolutely not going to bite. So I just kept it pretty, with the confidence colors, a lot of translucent, hard baits, and then all the swim baits, stuff like that, were also going to be some kind of a ghost shad or something like that, just a translucent with a little bit of pearl or something like that.
Yeah, David.
What's that wacky worm? Which particular worm was that?
All right, so we're running deets on the gray worm.
So it was just a regular, 5-inch stick worm. It was just a standard 5-inch stick worm, but it was just a different color than I think they've probably ever seen before, and it definitely seemed like that because I actually fished back behind myself a good bit and caught some fish that didn't bite other baits. So